Hi, it's Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and I'd like to talk to you today about the Airflo Switch Float fly line. Now, I received this fly line this past summer, and I ended up using it on both switch rods and single-handed rods. So if there's one word I can use to describe it, it's versatile. Extremely versatile. Now, the line is a full line with an attached running line, but the head is built like a short Scandinavian shooting head. The tip is relatively thick to facilitate turning over polyleaders. So now, since it can turn over a polyleader, it's also good for turning over nymphing rigs, weighted flies, big streamers, and any other hard to turn over fishing tackle. Now, it has a long front taper which gives it good spey casting characteristics as well as good overhead casting characteristics. The short head design loads very quickly and is great for making short casts. So here's an example where I was casting a weighted fly a very short distance. I even had some of the belly sitting on the water, and as you can see from this clip that I'm turning it over just fine. I mean, the leader's turning over, I'm getting it in there, the cast is accurate, no problems at all making a short cast with it. Now, here I'm cranking out some line. It can really throw a long way. I mean, the head is stable, the loop shape is stable, it is really nice for overhead casting. So if you look at this combination of a short head and a spey line taper, it lets us do many things, and I was very pleased with its overall performance. Now, the line is marketed as a switch rod line, but the reality is you can use it on single-handed rods just as well. However, the ratings are different, so that could be a bit confusing. So let's take a minute to look at how these ratings work. First, I'll put up the AFTMA table, and as you can see, an 8 weight is rated at 210 grains. Now, if you go and pick a 210 grain shooting head, it's going to be too light. Shooting heads normally are 2 line weights over the AFTMA rating for the rod to get the rod to load properly. So what we do instead, we're going to put a shooting head, or in this case the switch float, on the rod that's 2 line weights heavier. And in this case, 2 line weights heavier is 280 grains. So I'm going to use the weight forward 4-weight switch line that is 270 grains. You could also use the 4.5, which is 300. Either one would work. So remember, when you're putting this line on a single-handed rod, ignore the line rating number and go by the grain weight instead. When we're using this line on switch rods, the line rating number becomes more pertinent, and we can use the line rating number or the grain weight to decide which line to put on our rod. Now, in my case, I'm using a G Loomis Pro 4X 10.5 foot 5-weight switch rod, and I have the 270 grain 4-weight Airflo switch line on it. And you're going to say, well, okay, why did you go to a 4-weight when the rod is a 5? Well, first off, I could have put the 5 on, it would have worked just fine. But I went with the 4 because I intend to do a lot of overhead casting with one hand. So I went with a little lighter line. Now I can still spey cast it without any difficulty, but it gives me a nicer option when going overhead as well. This is the versatility of the line and the versatility of the fact that we have these half line sizes. You can really pick the line to do the job for your rod. So if it needs a little heavier load, a little lighter load, whether you want to go light or heavy, overhead or spey, you have the opportunity to do that by picking the right line for your rod. I really can't stress more strongly how versatile this line really is. I mean, you can throw pretty well anything you like within reason on the end of it. You can use it on switch rods, on single-handed rods. You could use it as a short-range line, a distance line, a streamer line, a wet fly line, a nymphing line. It really doesn't matter. You can use it for all of these things. So if you need a full line that casts like a shooting head and you need to turn over a lot of stuff, look no further than the Airflo Switch Float line.